Hello, everyone. Ryan from the Canadian Football Countdown here, bringing you another mini CFL Free Agency positional preview episode leading up to the big CFL Free Agent Frenzy, which we're hosting February 14th, just 2 days away on Tuesday. We'll be live 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. as the CFL Free Agent window officially opens. 8 hours of live coverage and analysis of the opening of free agency. You can join us on all our different platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the Game Time TV YouTube page. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV. Just search the Canadian Football Countdown or at CF Countdown Pod on any of those. Make sure you subscribe ahead of time. Join us in the chat live that day. Going to be a lot of fun. Lots of great coverage planned throughout the day. But let's continue our series previewing each position leading up to it. And today we are taking a look at the defensive backs. So let's pull it up here and take a look at the guys that are free agents currently. And then we'll take a look at where teams are at under contract and what they've done thus far. Let's sort it by team on this one here and take a look at who is available as a free agent. The only one from BC is Hakeem Johnson, who played 16 games last season in a minimal role there for him. The Stampeders look to have a number of defensive backs out on the free agent list. Eli Buka and Brandon Dozier are the two that definitely jump out as big name options teams could take a look at here at the defensive back position there. The Ticats seem to be making some changes to their secondary. Jamal Roll, Ciante Evans, both of these, some of the top defensive backs in the CFL, are currently free agents. Also just releasing Cariel Brooks, who is a recent All-Star just this week. He has not popped up on the free agent list here yet that gets pulled in for this, but he is definitely an option for a team taking a look at some strong presence at the defensive back position as well. So a couple big names from the Ticats. Could that mean that they are looking elsewhere here in free agency and going to be jumping on some of these other guys? Same thing here in Montreal. Mike Jones, former Bomber, went over to the Alouettes last season. He had himself a pretty good year with the Alouettes. He finds himself on the free agent list. Greg Reed, also, real strong player. There must have been bad injuries last season. Only played one game all season long, but he's been known to be a real good producer there in the backfield in the past. So we'll see if a team takes a chance on bringing him in for another season here and for a bounce back year for him. Kerfala Emmanuel Exume, a great special teams player there. 6 tackles on special teams for him last season. Notable Ottawa Red Blacks finding themselves on the free agent list currently: Abdul Kenneh and Sherrod Baltimore. These have been two of the mainstays of that defensive backfield over the past number of years. With Abdul Kenneh, he's been in the league since 2014, jumped around a couple of times. Sherrod Baltimore since 2017, and they both had some decent seasons there last year for them as well. The Riders, a couple of guys left on the list here also: Mike Edom, Godfrey Onyeka, and Blaze Brown. Most notable among these, of course, is Mike Edom, who, among all free agents at the defensive back position, has most tackles with 57 last season, even pitched in 2 sacks and interception. And carries that Canadian passport that is valuable in the CFL. So could he be one of these top defensive back options that teams are looking to bring in for this offseason? The Argos only have one guy on the open free agency list currently, and that is Shaq Richardson. Once again, big name here. 2 interceptions for him last season, forced a fumble, a couple of knockdowns. Also a solid year in the 12 games he was able to play. And then the Bombers have Nick Taylor, who was one of their starters in the defensive backfield last season. Nick Taylor, also the most interceptions out of any free agent here with 3 of them, is one of the top guys in that category. Also the oldest free agent available at the position on the list. And what will happen with Mercy Maston, who has just had terrible luck with injuries over the past couple of years? I know it was last season. I think he missed due to injury. He may have even missed the season before that, if I'm remembering correctly, due to some nasty injuries. So we'll see if he's got anything left in him and if a team wants to take a chance on that. Now let's see where teams are at individually at the defensive backfield position. Well, we'll go over to the BC Lions here first and take a look at what they've got under contract here. They've got a pretty solid top 3 here with Gary Peters, Marcus Sales, and TJ Lee. locked in. Definitely have some other pieces here that they, perhaps we see get more of a role coming into this year as well. Quincy Modger, rookie year last year for him. Sophomore season, what can he bring? He had a very good year for his rookie season last year as well. Tyneil Cooper, Jalen Edwards Cooper, you can see those guys rotate in there as well. The big moves so far for them, re-signing Gary Peters and TJ Lee, both to 2-year contracts. That is huge for the BC Lions. And re-signing Quincy Mosier there as well. They are going to be missing a couple of big names, though, that they have had the past couple of years. Lucius Purifoy being released by the team and off to the Edmonton Elks here in free agency. They've already picked him up there. Delvin Breaux also announcing his retirement from the CFL. And Hakeem Johnson looking to be a pending free agent here also for the team. So a couple of pieces missing there for the BC Lions that maybe we see them be a little bit active in free agency, try to bring one of those names in off the open list there. Let's go to the Calgary Stampeders here, take a look at their defensive backfield. Most notable ones on here, I would say Trey Roberson, 5 games played for him last year. He ended up going to the NFL after a really strong start to his CFL career and came back to the Calgary Stampeders. And only 5 games last season, but a full year of Trey Roberson is huge for this defensive backfield. And I think he's going to be one of the top defensive players in the league this season. Brad Muhammad had himself one heck of a season in his sophomore season last year. 16 games played, 50 tackles for him, a couple of picks and a forced fumble. Jonathan Moxey, always an integral part of that defensive backfield there. And Nicholas Stats having himself a decent year in the and contributing mostly on special teams here for the Stampeders. Who have they re-signed so far? Well, they re-signed 3 of those guys we just mentioned for this upcoming season. So Stamps bringing back a lot of their guys here. Also, signing Bailey Devine Scott through in addition there. It looks like he played a couple of games last season. Notable names on the free agent list, touched on it already. Trumaine Washington was a guy that was let go. I believe potentially retired. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Eli Buka, Brandon Dozier. Those are your most notables on defensive back for the Stampeders. Under contract for the Edmonton Elks right now. Well, they brought in Lucius Purifoy. They brought back Ed Gainey. Those are the 2 big names there so far. Other than that, Aaron Grimes, missed most of last season with an injury, I believe. He's back this year. That is huge. That is huge for the Edmonton Elks defensive backfield. You pair the likes of Purifoy, Gainey, Grimes. You've got, Scott Hutter had a really good year there for himself also. There's quite a few names on here. I think the Elks are going to have a strong defensive backfield this season, and that's something I'm very excited about in a Chris Jones defense because we know he is a defensive guy there himself. Yeah, Ed Gainey, Aaron Grimes, Jamie Harry all brought back for this upcoming season. Lucius Purifoy and Raphael Leonard being added to the mix as well. Notable subtractions, Deron Carter, Jeff Richards, and Tristan Deku. Deku having the best season at defensive back out of all of these guys. A bit of a surprise let go there, but looks like they've brought in some good depth so far. The Hamilton Tiger Cats in the defensive backfield. They brought back Richard Leonard. He's under contract through 2023. Now, he had 4 interceptions last year. Great year for him, 64 tackles. Tunde Adeleke, 68 for him. These 2 were the focal points, I would say, this defensive backfield. Stavros Katsantonis also playing the full 18 games there for them and really contributing in on the special teams. Lawrence Woods contributing big time in the return game, and he is also under contract for this upcoming year. They don't have a ton of depth names we know really at defensive back for the Ticats. So I think this is a team that we could see be active in free agency, especially after letting some of those guys go that we've talked about already. They have not re-signed any of their pending free agents at the defensive backfield. They did add Zach Herzog on a 3-year contract here. But again, these are the big names. Jamal Roll, Ciante Evans, and Carriel Brooks all being let go or free agents here for the Ticats. The Montreal Alouettes, let's go to the under contract section here. Notable names under contract for them: Marc-Antoine Dequoy. Good year for him last year with 4 interceptions there. Nafis Lyon, former Edmonton Elk, went over to the Alouettes. Correct me if I'm wrong, may have been as part of a trade. Najee Murray, Wes Sutton, Raheem Wilson. These are all guys that, are pretty integral pieces of that defensive unit. Deontay Ruffin having a solid year last year, too, only 24 years of age. Put up 39 tackles in just 9 games there in what looks like it was his rookie season. So the Alouettes are a team that they've got some intriguing pieces in the defensive backfield here. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they go out and focus on. I think they really need to focus on the offense here, especially at the wide receiver position personally. They're bringing back 3 major pieces here in Lyon, Sutton, and Wilson, and adding Ruffin in for another season here as well. I think there may have been a typo that ends up making these 2022 rookies end up showing on the additions tab when really it's a re-sign. So I'll have to work through that yet before the opening of free agency. But notable names they're missing again: Mike Jones, Greg Reed, and Kerfella Emmanuel Exume. So I think the Alouettes could be a team that tries to maybe replace a guy or two here, but I think they have other more important holes on the depth chart. The Ottawa Red Blacks at defensive back, they did re-sign Money Hunter. That was a big one there for him. He was really a top contributor for their defensive backfield with 4 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and a couple of knockdowns last season. Ty Cranston leads, and Justin Howell, 2 of the guys leading the way at the Canadian position for them. Brandon Dandridge, a really strong defensive back, also only played 6 games last season, put up 14 tackles and forced 2 fumbles, recovered 2, and had 3 knockdowns in that time. So that is going to be a huge piece if they can get him in for more games this season. Other than that, rotating a number of guys through here for nobody really playing the full season outside of Alonzo Ade, who did play the full 18 games there for them, contributing 28 tackles. What have they done at defensive back? Well, they brought back a number of their guys here. So it's clearly the Red Blacks like what they have at the position. Also adding a couple of new, fresh rookies from last season in as well. But notable pieces we are going to see gone, which either some of these other guys are going to step into full-time roles this upcoming year, or we're going to see them be active here with some signings. Abdul-Kene Antoine Pruneau retiring. He has announced his retirement from the CFL, and Sherrod Baltimore. Those are 3 pieces we're used to seeing in Red Blacks uniforms that we're not going to be seeing this upcoming season unless they bring Kene or Baltimore back. So things are going to look a little bit different, I think, for the Red Blacks this upcoming year. Let's take a look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders here. Nick Marshall, Roland Milligan. Those are 2 big pieces there for them. Milligan, a heck of a year last year in his sophomore season. 71 defensive tackles, contributing 11 on special teams. He 8 knockdowns. He kind of did everything. He is a really key piece for them to bring back. We know Nick Marshall is capable of making those big plays there for them as well. Jeremy Clark getting in for 17 games last season. He contributed quite a bit there as well. Defensive back, I think, is one of those positions at the Riders. We could see some of these guys, them bring in maybe some extra pieces here. I think that was a concern for us coming into last season as well, right? It was the defensive backfield for this team. They lost a lot of their pieces, and I think it's a position that they could still use some additional upgrades. They did bring back, again, all of these pieces here. Jordan Bayou, the other one I haven't mentioned yet. Notable names they're missing. Mike Edom, they're going to need somebody to come in and replace him, most notably this upcoming season. For the Toronto Argonauts, Deshaun Amos was recently signed to a contract extension for them. He was a big contributor in that defensive backfield. 4 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, 4 knockdowns. Great year for them there. Also, Royce Mechie brought back on a contract extension. 72 tackles for him last season and 2 interceptions. Roberts and Daniel only playing one game, but he's been known to be a big contributor to a defense in the past as well. Josh Haggerty, a little bit of play time there for him. 14 games was the next most out of any of these. So they've got some pretty good depth, I think, the Argos do in the defensive backfield. They have a very underrated defense, not a lot of people giving them the credit they deserve. They had a lot of injuries last season. Looks like they're able to bring a lot of their guys back. Most notably, this big three here, Amos, Mechie, and Daniel, is a great core to have to your defensive backfield in Toronto. JT Hassel, Caleb Holden end up on the additions list here. Again, those are a couple of rookies that might be from last year that might be making more of a step forward. The two pieces that they are going to miss, though, Shaq Richardson, again, a free agent right now, and Jamal Peters was incredible. 6 interceptions, 9 knockdowns. I think those 6 interceptions came in like 3 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. He is off to the NFL currently. He has a contract, I think, with the Atlanta Falcons. So he will be gone at least for the start of the season. We hope, obviously, he sticks it in the NFL. But if he doesn't, could we see him come back to the Argos later in the season? And finally, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Winston Rose, Mario Houston, Nick Hallett, Deatrick Nichols, Brandon Alexander. Those are your main pieces there. Alexander, only playing 5 games last season due to injury. Those stats are going to jump up higher this year if he can get in for the full year. The Bombers bringing back most of their defensive backfield here. Nick Taylor really being the only major notable that's missing. And Terrell Ford, who is off to the NFL as well after just 1 season in the CFL. So that was a nice future piece that they were starting to try to develop there. Fortunately, he's off to the NFL now. So that hurts the Bombers, I think, at the position depth-wise or potential for the future a little bit. But they did manage to bring back big pieces here. Winston Rose, Brandon Alexander, Desmond Lawrence brought in late in the season last year and was a decent contributor down the stretch when they needed him to be there as well. So I think the Bombers are a team that, seems to have enough depth at the defensive back position where I don't expect them to be too active looking at free agents there this coming week or this whole offseason, really. So that's where we're at the for each of the teams at the defensive back position. And that's it for our defensive back preview. Again, stay tuned for Free Agent Frenzy 2023, February 14th. This coming Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join us live. Join us in the chat along with us all day long as we talk CFL and as we talk through all of the signings and news as it happens. We'll take a look and refresh these depth charts throughout the day as well. There, again, subscribe over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@CFCountdownPod, and follow us on all the social media platforms. If you haven't yet, check out all of the other positional previews we've done thus far. They're in a nice, convenient playlist over on the YouTube channel. I'll have the special teams one, kickers, punters, long snappers out on Monday, and then Tuesday's the big show. Let me know in the comments section what you think about the defensive backfield for your favorite team. If you would like to see them make a move, if you like what they have so far, let us know in the comments and chime in there as well. And stay tuned for plenty of content to come here on the Canadian Football Countdown.